right, good morning. Thank you for attending the Safeguarding the Election press conference. Our speakers today include Registrar-Recorder County Clerk Dean Logan and Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna. Following their remarks, there will be an opportunity for questions and answers, and following Q&A, we will have a demonstration with our K-9 unit right outside of the doors here, and then invite media to see some of the activities taking place here in the facility. So with that said, I'd like to welcome Registrar-Recorder County Clerk Dean Logan.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you taking the time this morning, and appreciate the sheriff joining me this morning to talk about the security of the elections process. We are 1 week out from the 2024 presidential general election. There is a lot of activity going on, and we want to take this opportunity to brief you on just some of the basics of what's happening with the election, and then specifically to talk a little bit about what we're doing collaboratively here in LA County to ensure that we have safe and secure elections in the days and weeks ahead. So a couple of things just to go over. We are already clearly in the voting period. All voters in LA County have been mailed vote-by-mail ballots. We have received over 900,000 voted vote-by-mail ballots back, and probably within the next couple of days we'll clear the 1 million mark. So there's a lot of voter activity going on with regard to vote-by-mail ballots. Last Saturday we opened up our first batch of in-person vote centers throughout the county, 122 locations that opened on Saturday and have been open daily since then. As of last night, we have served over 47,000 voters in person at those vote centers. They'll remain open every day through Election Day from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then on Election Day, they will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. This weekend, on Saturday, we will open an additional 526 locations for a total of 648 vote centers that will be open countywide through the end of the election period. And a reminder that any voter in LA County can go to any one of those locations. You do not have to go to an assigned location. You can vote at any location in the county. A couple of things we're trying to emphasize in this election. It's a very long ballot and includes everything from the presidential contest down to very localized contests, and also an array of statewide ballot measures, local ballot measures. So there's a lot for our voters to navigate. So a reminder, if you're able to and you're ready to cast your vote, we really encourage voters to vote early. If you have that vote-by-mail ballot sitting on your counter at home and you're ready to make your decisions, please mark it and return it. If you're out in the community this week and over the weekend, take advantage of the opportunity to go to our in-person vote centers and cast your ballots. Let's do it like Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers and get it done early, and be sure that we have good voter turnout and good indication of civic participation in LA County. So with that, I'd just like to move to the issue of safety and security of the elections process. Again, we're very honored to have Sheriff Robert Luna with us today, and really appreciate the partnership that we have with the LA County Sheriff's Office in the administration of elections in the county. It's through their leadership that we're able to protect the ballot and ensure that everything gets here to our ballot processing center and processed appropriately, and that we're able to produce election results on election night. We are very focused collaboratively with the Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies throughout the county, as well as the state and the nation, on situational awareness. We know that there are there's a narrative around the country about the security of the elections process, and we want to be sure that voters have the confidence that we have a process that's going to protect both them, our staff, and also their ballots in this process. And we do that through a number of things. We have regular briefing sessions with the agency, so we're aware if there's anything that's going on. Even if it's not here in our community, we hear about it, and we are able to make sure that we're prepared in the event that something should happen here in our community. Here at the Ballot Processing Center, we have a partnership with the Sheriff's Office. Two primary elements of that process. One is the LA County Sheriff's K-9 unit that you see here. They actually are here to, when we have intake of vote-by-mail ballots coming in from the U.S. Postal Service or from our drop boxes, the first part of the process is to have the K-9 units scan those ballots to identify if there is anything in there which would be a piece of mail with a suspicious product or substance in it. That enables us to, if that were to happen, to isolate that and go into an investigative process, but it also protects our environment so that we don't have to shut down the operation and we can continue to provide the services that we need to have the ballots processed and counted. The other partnership we have with the Sheriff's Office is on election night. The ballots coming back from those 648 voting locations are transported back here to our ballot processing center by the Sheriff's Department. They go from those 648 locations to 79 check-in centers throughout the county, and then they're transported either by Sheriff Patrol Car or Sheriff Helicopter back here to this facility for counting. Part of our parking lot actually becomes a helipad, and it's quite a scene here on election night, and the way that we efficiently get those ballots back here and securely get those ballots back here is through that partnership with the Sheriff's Office. There are also a number of security provisions here in the building. We have video surveillance. We have on-site 24/7 security for this facility. We take the security of the voting process very seriously, but we also take transparency very seriously. So this building is available for observers to come and watch the process. We know that the voting process belongs to the voters. We're here to facilitate it, make sure it works securely and appropriately, and this facility has really made a big difference for us to be able to do that. Finally, another element of our law enforcement coordination is we distribute through the Sheriff's Office to all law enforcement in the county a safety reference guide so that the law enforcement officers that are on the street and in the community during the voting period have quick access to all of the legal provisions in California elections law on what's allowable and what's not allowable. So if we have an incident out in the community at a vote center, we can respond quickly to that, make sure that it doesn't disrupt the process and that voting continues without any disruption. So we were just talking before we came in here, we feel very fortunate in LA County to have the collaborative relationship that we have with Sheriff Luna and his team and law enforcement throughout the community. We know that there's some intensity out there in other states, in other communities, and we are taking that seriously. We're being very vigilant here to make sure that we're prepared and that we're focused on making sure that every eligible voter has the opportunity to cast a ballot in this election and have that ballot counted. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Sheriff to make some remarks, and then we'll be happy to take some questions. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Dean. As you can hear from Dean, this is their Super Bowl. And, or I should say World Series, right? Just to make it appropriate for the timing. And the fact that we as the County of Los Angeles take security for what we're doing here extremely serious. In a region as diverse as Los Angeles County, public confidence in a fair, transparent election process is essential. But I am aware that some of our residents, based on community input, have some concerns about safety as it relates to voting. Election safety is a top priority for us in Los Angeles County, specifically with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And we are committed to a fair process, free of intimidation or free of interference. To clarify, though, I do want to say that there's no credible threats here in Los Angeles County to polling locations or our polling workers, but we're continuing to monitor the situation. And as Dean mentioned, I have been in a variety of meetings, whether they're in person, on video, or on the phone, with our partners at a national level, state level, and local level. As a matter of fact, last week I was in Boston at a Major City Chiefs conference, and one of the top topics was election security and other concerns from around the country. So just please know that although there are no credible threats, we will always be prepared to respond swiftly to any incidents or threats that we may be involved in or that may be occurring. We are in collaboration, as I said earlier, with federal, state, and local partners. We're continuing to communicate with, for example, all of our partners in LA County Chiefs. There's 44 other cities in LA County, so we're communicating with them about what we're doing and making sure that we're all on the same page with our coordinated efforts. We're also in close communication with Dean and his shop here at the County Register-Recorder County Clerk's Office to monitor and share any and all information that maintain safety for both our voters and all of our poll workers, and that's important. Our deputies will securely transport the sealed ballots that was mentioned earlier throughout the day to all the voting centers and processing centers by both patrol cars and by helicopter. Again, we do that every year. We're very good at it. On Election Day, we will be on heightened alert to ensure the safety and security of all of our residents and polling locations. And I want to make this clear. We will not tolerate any actions from individuals who seek to either intimidate or disrupt our democratic process. For us at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, as most departments do and already have, we will have a significant amount of additional staffing out in the field as we prepare for the election, election day, and even post-election events. I want to also make it clear that interfering with the election process can result in very serious consequences and can be a felony or a misdemeanor. As always, we encourage the public to report anything suspicious. It's a cliche, but it works. If you see something, say something. You got to get a hold of us. You are our best ears or method of observation for anything that may happen, either at a polling location, at a drop-off box, whatever that may be. We need you to report anything that you think may be suspicious. Let us figure out if there's any credence to it. And I just want to wrap up here before we turn it over to questions, is just to remind our community as we talk about voting, we talk about history, we talk about all the men and women who have served in the military to make sure that we have the right to vote, or all of our civil rights leaders who fought so hard to make sure that a lot of us have the right to vote. So that's why we respect this process so much, this democratic process, and we're going to ensure that we're here. We're going to be here with you to make sure we get through this together. And then make sure you go out and vote. At the end of the day, it's the democratic process, and you all need to vote. So make sure we do that. And now we will open it up to questions for either Dean or I. Thank you.
There was some instances of arson that took place in some states and north of us on ballot boxes. What are you doing to protect those boxes? I mean, you can't have someone posted at every single one of them. So how do we know that those drop-off places are secure?
So you're talking about the incidents that have occurred in the state of Washington and Oregon. We are being briefed on that investigation and anything and everything to do with that incident. As I stated earlier, this is where our entire community comes in. You're our partners. If you see anything suspicious at any one of these boxes, please do not hesitate to call 911 and let us know. That quick response investigation, and remember, there's video everywhere. So that will help us. And obviously, if you're out there and you're thinking about doing this, you're going to get caught. And there's some serious consequences for that. So yeah, we're keeping tabs on that. We'll continue to for the remainder of this week because we don't want that to happen here in Los Angeles County.
And I'll just add to that that we service those drop boxes on a daily basis, so the ballots that are returned there do not sit there idle. We have 36 teams that go out into the field every day to check those boxes. The boxes that we use in LA County are also designed to ensure the safety of the ballots. So if something was to happen, a flame should be extinguished quickly. But as the sheriff said, we are asking for any information that anybody has if they believe that there is any disruption or graffiti or any harm done to the boxes, and we will pursue that actively with law enforcement. Yeah, the boxes we use here in LA County, again, are designed to suppress fire in the sense that there is not a lot of air that gets into the box. So when we first brought the boxes into our process here, we did a test with the LA County Fire Department to see if there was any additional action that we should take to protect the boxes, and their testing showed that anything flammable should extinguish very quickly. Really, the bigger concern on our end would be the damage to ballots in responding to an incident. So with the fire department breaking into the box and water damage or something of that nature. Okay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the second part of the question?
Are you concerned about potential intimidation of voters at polling places?
Yes.
And what do you do in anticipation of that?
We are very concerned about everything you just listed, and that's why we're doing this presser today with all of you. And thank you for covering this, because our message to our community members, our voting public, is to report anything that you just described to the authorities there, and they'll immediately get a hold of us. People have asked, would we place deputy sheriffs or police officers at these polling places? That's the last thing we want to do. We will be close by. We will be ready to respond when necessary, if necessary. But I want people to feel secure that they can go to any voting location and not be intimidated or fearful that anything may happen. But if there's something there, call us immediately. We're going to have extra people out there, and we will respond.
Sheriff, are you concerned at all with post-election protest activity taking place, and if so, what is that preparedness so far?
So yes, I'm concerned about pre-election, election day, and post-election. So what we've been doing with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, we've been extensively preparing in different ways. I'm going to give you one example. Last week in the city of Long Beach, we assisted in hosting training for 26 different law enforcement agencies, which included the California Highway Patrol, the National Guard. There were over 600 law enforcement personnel there. We have been doing that kind of training in preparation initially for election because of all the information we're getting more from a national perspective. So apart from having additional resources, additional people in uniform, some that you will see, some that you won't see, and then we are coming up on Game 4 of the Dodgers series tonight. Will they win tonight? That's something we have to be prepared for. So apart from anything election related, we are also prepared for that. And for those of you who are very familiar with Los Angeles County, we also have our big carnival event in West Hollywood that takes place on Halloween night. So for us at the LA County Sheriff's Department, working with many other partners, we have been preparing for this time period, and I can tell everybody we are prepared for just about anything that can come our way.
Do you mind, on the training in Long Beach, were those other agencies local police agencies? And then on top of that, was that training specifically for post-election protest activity?
It's all interrelated in regards to, it's civil disturbance type training, but coordination with things like motorcycles, horseback, everything that we can do working together. The majority of the agencies I just named were mostly LA County. Orange County Sheriffs was there with us. They are our partners in this endeavor. And really what that does is practice our mutual aid capabilities and responses, which we're very good at in this region.
Dean, I'm wondering, you're in a new facility, laid out in a different way than the studio you used before. Are you expecting along that, are you expecting this to be a more streamlined process?
So election night activity will be similar than it has in the past, because that is really driven by the hours of voting and the process that takes place back here. The one thing that I would point out about this new facility that gives us some additional opportunity, well, two things I guess I would say is, one is the transparency, that we have the ability for people to come and see the process from beginning to end all in one facility. So it does give that increased visibility and transparency to the process. And by the way, that's also live streamed on our website, so you don't have to be here physically to do that. You can actually watch on our website. But the other advantage that we have now is the space that you see here with regard to vote-by-mail ballot processing is, in the past, we've had to shut that down so that we can then process the election night results that are coming in from the vote centers. We can now continue to have the vote-by-mail processing go throughout election day and even into election evening. So where in the past you've seen a gap between the results that we release usually around 8:30, 8:40, and then when the ballots start coming back in from the vote centers, we will actually be able to continue to process vote-by-mail ballots and do additional updates to the vote totals in that interim period. But at the end, as far as your question about it being a long night, it'll still be a long night. Those ballots physically have to get back here from all 648 locations, and we will stay and process those until those are all reported.
How many ballots do you tend to process here?
We process all the ballots here. In this election, by the time we certify, I think that could be in excess of 3 million ballots. Now, whether we have all of those in on election night is a question, and that's why we're encouraging voters to vote early and give us the opportunity to make sure that we have the bulk of those ballots in our count on election night.
Sorry, just to clarify too on this question, did you give us a date on when you think you'll be completely through your count, or at least the time?
So under California elections law, we will actually certify the election on December 3rd. So there is an elongated post-election process where we do the auditing of the results. We do all of the ballots that come in, for instance, that are dropped off at vote centers where people use a vote-by-mail ballot, but they drop it off at a vote center, or that are postmarked by Election Day. Those continue to have to be processed in those days and weeks after the election. And a new law in California this year doesn't allow counties to certify prior to December 3rd. I do believe that within probably the 2 weeks after the election, we'll have the most definitive election results. But we also want to be sure that we're doing that due diligence of a post-election audit and checking our chain of custody and making sure that when we do certify those election results, that they are accurate and complete.
As someone who spent your whole career working on this, does the questions about election integrity and voter fraud, does that bother you that we're seeing that ramp up?
The questions on voter integrity and voter fraud don't bother me at all. I think those are legitimate questions. And as I said in my earlier remarks, the voting process belongs to the voters. We're here to facilitate that under the rules and laws that are in place here in California. And I think sometimes that gets a little bit muddled because elections are run locally in this country. So states have different laws, different time frames, et cetera. I think what bothers me and concerns me is the misinformation, disinformation, and misrepresentation of those laws. So there are a lot of opinions about things like, for instance, whether or not ballots should be allowed that are postmarked on Election Day. That's the law in California, so it's our job to process those ballots and make sure they're included in the count. So to represent that as a manipulation or a fraud of the process is really only serves to discourage people's confidence in the process and discourage people from voting. That I take very seriously, and that's why we try to be very transparent and open in our process so people do understand that what we're doing here is to facilitate the law as it exists today.
Have you gotten a sense from your workers that they feel added pressure or scrutiny in this election as opposed to earlier elections?
You know, I think I would start by saying that we're very fortunate in LA County to have dedicated community members and dedicated county employees who serve as our election workers out in the field. And while we've seen across the country where some jurisdictions have had difficulty recruiting for this election, we haven't experienced that here. We have people who are eager to be out there to serve voters in LA County. Increased scrutiny, yes. I think we are all aware that the eyes of the country are on those of us who conduct elections. And, but again, that process belongs to them, and as long as that's done appropriately and within the guidelines of the law, we're prepared for that, and we want to facilitate that. We haven't had any concerns raised about that. We're being vigilant on that. We are training our election workers on situational awareness and again, as the sheriff said, again, overused phrase, but see something, say something. We also staff our vote centers so that nobody is isolated without other people present in the facility. So we also train on de-escalation tactics. So the question that was asked of the sheriff about intimidation or people trying to disrupt the election process, we've trained our workers on how to address that, including calling 911 if they need to do that, and also getting the word out to law enforcement on what are the rules. Things like electioneering within 100 feet of the entrance of a voting location, not appropriate, not legal. So don't do it. You know, that active voting is a even playing field where everybody gets the chance to come in and cast their vote. Go out in your community, have your conversations about the pros and cons of a measure or the candidates, but that should not be happening in our voting locations.
Coming in, you can see a lot of people through the glass. Are you training people to work, and how many people are you training right now?
So in this facility for ballot processing, at the peak of our process, which will probably get there at the end of this week and early next week, we will have as many as 700 or 800 seasonal employees working here, processing the vote-by-mail ballots, processing the ballots that come in from the drop boxes, doing the vote tabulation in the tally room that you see, which is a glass-enclosed room out there. And that's in addition to the 9,000 community and county employees who are working out at the vote centers. So it takes a whole community to ensure that we have free and fair elections here. Most of the training is off-site here. The training that's going on here is really training the employees that are doing the activities that are happening here in this facility. Correct.
700 to 800 seasonal employees in this building alone.
Yes, that's correct. Okay.
Lo podemos hacer en el lado. ¿Está bien? Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.